Hi everybody, this is Allison. Um, I am talking about peace in the Agora conference. I'm trying to get a few things settled first. My Chrome went out, but let me see. Okay, my main talk today is kind of about how positivity and let's see. Okay, my topic is the Levolution, using positivity and love against the state. What I want to do is, I know that we do a lot of talks about kind of what's important in the movement and how to reach out to people and the best way to facilitate getting more people in and educating them and bringing them into the movement so that we're not just a fixed pie, that we're an ever-expanding pie. And I think my personal perspective is that we should use positivity and a love force in order to help people to be able to come into their own and be able to kind of explore their own definition of what we would call liberty. I know that we all have an idea of roughly of what we think it is, and I think it's important to kind of listen to others and intake what they think is important in order for us to learn more and to expand our own thinking. That being said, there's a lot of things that we can do. I know that we're all against the state, but it's pretty much along the lines that we want to be able to facilitate other people's needs, whatever it is. So I'm trying to get this page up real quickly, but it's not working 100%. But I am, just to give you guys a little bit of an insight, I am in Sedona, Arizona right now, and I am here because of my own peaceful journey through liberty. I'll give you a little backstory on me. This is Sedona, Arizona. I know it's big mountain in the back. It's absolutely amazing here, and I'm very lucky to be staying with some anarchist friends of mine, Kimberly Johnson and Jason Barrick. And let me just give you a little bit of background on me personally. I came in out of high school, not really knowing what placement I was in. Upon going into college, 9/11 hit my freshman year of college, and I remember coming out of the main quad area, and somebody approached me and they were like, "Did you hear what happened?" And I was like, "Oh, what?" Because I'm totally oblivious, and I was probably thinking of philosophy or something else silly. But they're like, "The Twin Towers fell," and my immediate reaction was, oh, I'll definitely say hi to Kim and Jason for you guys. But my immediate reaction was, well, what did we do to deserve it? And that was been my mentality since almost 10 years ago, actually about 10 years ago now. I'm 28, so pretty much I started in the socialist perspective. I was protesting the war in Iraq in 2002 and then 2003. I was showing Kim those pictures last night, which was pretty good. But pretty much, like, I've always been anti-war, anti-aggression. I just didn't know my placement, and I thought it was in the socialist realm. And then I became part of the Green Party, and I was a huge fan of Nader's because when I was protesting in 2002, I literally marched next to Ralph Nader in the anti-war protest, beginning up to the Iraq war. I've had conflicts with police. I've been an activist, physical activist, however you want to define it. I've done that, been there, and I want something more. I think that it's important. I think it's very important that we seek beyond ourselves. And I think for so long we see, especially new people in this movement, I coming from where I was, that we see the non-aggression, we believe in it, but yet we have a tendency to want to somehow feel like we're important, and the only way we can do that is through physical means. And I have been there, I understand that, but I think that there's more to life than being against something. Being anti-war, being anti-aggression, being anti. Oh, I don't know why. Oh, okay. You guys are fixing it. And so I'm kind of, to be honest, I'm kind of tired of us being anti-everything. To be honest, I would rather us be pro-something. So instead of being anti-war, let's be pro-peace. Let's be pro-human. Let's be pro-each other and be supportive of one another in this movement, because um, the infighting and all these things are not going to help us. If anything, we're all against the state, but what are we for? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's the idea that how do we cultivate this kind of community mentality without being collectivist based, but um, how do we cultivate a positive nature in order to further our progress? Because it's one thing to get in and be aware of the ideas of liberty and to start working. It's one thing to be gung ho and excited, and all of us have been there where it's our first year in and we're just excited, and then we go to the slippery slope potentially of anarchy or voluntarism or whatever else, and we get so lost in the yes men mentality where we get so surrounded by people that agree with us that we don't see beyond anything else. We only see the same people. Like, I can give you a collective number of probably 20 people that are liberty people that I talk to on a daily basis, but that doesn't help us. If anything, that helps us build a community of liberty, but it doesn't allow for us to educate others or bring others in, or maybe we're wrong about a few things, and that we need some more people or some more ideas to be brought in so that we can educate ourselves in a better way. Do you see what I'm saying? So instead of the group mentality, maybe we are individuals and we have to explore that in a positive way, because the only way to expand the pie is to have a good outlook. And I'm trying to think of exactly how to word it. So needless to say, that's my beginning rant, is that we've all been in a situation where we believe in non-aggression, we understand the principles of liberty, we can read Rothbard all day, but yet it comes to the point where, what are we going to do when our minds are full and those around us agree with us? What do we do to achieve liberty for the future, right? So really, we need to be looking towards the future, because everyone probably watching this, most people agree. We agree on 99% of things, but we have to look beyond ourselves. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's not, and some people would probably deem that as being a collectivist idea, but we do have to reach out to others, and we have to be able to talk openly about things without there being conflict or aggression, because just think of it in your perspective. Well, I know even from my own life, let's, for instance, my family's very Republican based, and I remember when the war was happening, and I was trying to talk with them about being anti-war or being pro-peace, and how I don't believe in killing brown people. I don't believe in harming people, anyone, whether they're brown, white, whatever the hell they are. I don't believe in harming anyone. So the thing is that so the idea, conflict is inevitable, George, and I would agree with that, but it's the way that we engage people in that conflict. Do you see what I'm saying? It's the idea that if you come at me, for instance, I was going to tell a story, like when I was talking to my family, it was all, well, they're trying to kill us because for our freedom, and they're going to harm us, and this and that, and just like these negative anger and scare tactics that were used towards me, and that immediately shut me off. There was no way in hell I was going to support anything that they had to say, because of the way that they engaged me. And to be honest, we have that similar mentality that the neocons have about the war. We have that towards other people. And I know a few people that are personal friends of mine that are on my Facebook that just happen to be like liberal or Obama supporters or leftists that are very dear to my heart because I've known them for many years, that just immediately get shut off. And it's all about how we engage people. And so what I want to do is be able to discuss, probably through me and through the chat, interactively, how we can positively affect this movement and how we can be a positive force that doesn't shut people out, but yet at the same time is conviction-based, but we're not self-limiting. Because the more limiting we get, the more we get into our bubbles, and we don't see beyond our own community. And that's why personally I'm a huge fan of, I travel a lot, but I'm a huge fan of not being so segregated in groups, but yet being able to meet new people. Like, for instance, last night me and Kim went out and we met a young gentleman named Cassidy that is living out of a van, and he's traveling, and he's just like a free spirit. And the notion is that we need to reach out to people, and we need to seek people. And when we were talking to this Cassidy kid, we told him we were anarchists, and he was excited to hear about it. He was actually really enthralled with it, and he wanted to learn more, and he wanted to know our perspectives. And it was just awesome, because we were a positive, like, very nice to him. We were joking about his mustache, but like, it was a good way to engage people. Yes, I completely agree, Joseph. It's about how to listen, how to make the conversation safe, and how to allow everyone to contribute the meaning of what they feel. And, I'm not trying to be too girly with the, how people feel and, all this stuff, but it's important to understand where someone comes from to better communicate with them. And I think Stephanie and I on Sunday are going to be talking about communication tactics, so I'll leave that for Sunday. But it's really about being grounded and knowing who you are and being confident in that, but not pretentious. And I think a lot of what we have to do around people is, a lot of us, and I'm not trying to overly generalize, but I know, even coming from my own perspective, a lot of us are natural introverts. So we don't necessarily understand how to interact with people on like a regular basis or on a personal basis. But it's, we have to be able to stretch outside of our own boundaries in order to bring more in. And the only way to actually get that done is to be real with ourselves. And I think that all of us in the movement are pretty much positively based, but there are some tactics that you can use. There's some ways to communicate with people that are on a very even keel, on a very plain level, and engage others in a natural, kind of a holistic, natural way. There are a lot of, for instance, let me give you an example. I used to be pro, government intervention to help, suffering families, and help people that, from what I saw, couldn't help themselves. People that are seriously ill, or cancer, AIDS. I have a family member that's extremely ill with like severe migraines to the point where it's debilitating, and I feel a strong love and affectation towards them. And so it's this. Well, I mean, if they need that help and the government's offering it, then they should. The government's just trying to help people that are in these situations because of what the, of what the, what are they called? Insurance companies are doing to people, and what all these people are doing to others, and all these companies, and the state, and what I saw as the state was more of a, like a conglomerate of companies that were abusing people, and that the government was Big Brother trying to help people. But then, when I woke to the ideas of liberty, I now, coming from that stance, understand how to speak to people about it. And the way that I personally voice it to others is to listen to their perspective, which is number one. The most important thing we can do in this movement is to listen to others, because we have a tendency just to hear and let them talk, and then already have like a rebuttal in our heads. And we all know that that's how we interact, for the most part. And so the idea is to slow down that mechanism and actually understand where they're coming from, and be able to word it in such a way that it's not, it doesn't make them defensive. It keeps them off the defense. And so the best way to probably do that is, from my perspective, the best way to handle the welfare situation or anything else is that when I'm talking to people, I say, well, I mean, and most of the people I talk to, I make a personal relationship with, which is 100% like the main point that you should be doing. It's all about personal relationships with people. But it's the idea that I ask them, well, do you think I'm a generous person? And for the most part, they'll say yes, because of all the work and all the stuff that I've done for all this stuff. So pretty much like who I am, they already know that I'm a generous person. And so I'll say, well, I know you're a generous person as well. And they'll say, well, of course I am. I'm awesome. And so I'll say, okay, great. And so I'll say, well, okay, if I exist and you exist, it's kind of a Descartesian logical axiom, but if I'm generous and you're generous and we both exist and we would both contribute personally to helping people in need, then there have to be more than us. There have to be more than just you and I. Right? And they'll usually say, oh, well, yeah, I guess so. There are a lot of generous people, but, and then they'll start going on their rant about companies and how, people are harming others, and you listen to it, okay? You listen to it, and you try to think of a way to talk to them, and you say, okay, well, for instance, when on my paycheck, I see that I get, I pay whatever percentage to taxes. I work 8 hours a day, roughly, usually more, but we'll say 8 hours, and I make a certain amount of money, with certain percentage of taxes taken out. Well, if I were to work, let's say we didn't have taxes. Let's say I didn't pay taxes, right? And before they can even say, like, well, people will get harmed, you say, well, okay, if I didn't pay taxes, I could work less hours. Let's say that if I weren't getting paid taxes, or I didn't have to pay taxes, I could work 6 hours a day. Well, that would be awesome. Well, being who I am and being who you are, if you weren't having to pay taxes and I wasn't having to pay taxes, and we can work less hours out of the day, what is to keep us from engaging one another in starting a nonprofit or helping others or being able to give back to charity or give back to, be able to give back to our communities on a personal basis? And usually that kind of lights something in them, and I'll say, if I was not taxed, I could work less hours and I would give more time and effort into helping others. That's what we would all do, I think. And if anything, that would help us to use charity over welfare. And when I actually voice the charity over welfare perspective, that usually causes something to snap inside of their heads, and it's easier to talk to people on that plane. Now, when you attack them and say things like, we do have speaking points as well. We all know this, and we'll say taxation's theft. Well, government's stealing from you. Well, the insurance companies only have power because of all the, regulations that the government gives you. Do you see the big difference between the two conversations? Because I definitely do. And if you don't come from their perspective or understand their perspective or try to put yourself in their place, people know when you're not being real with them, and people know when you're lying to them. And people know when you're just spouting off. I mean, we all see it on Fox, right, and all these other shows, and Rachel Maddow and all that. We see when they spurt out certain talking points, and we know they're bullshitting us, right? Well, I don't want to bullshit anybody, and I don't think any of you want to bullshit anybody. And so, let's be real with people. Let's get on a common ground, and let's start working it out. And I think that a lot of us were brought into Liberty just because we want to help others, and we want to help ourselves, and the Randians, and we have a intrinsic desire to spread this message, but we won't be able to spread the message if no one's willing to listen. And it only takes one of us to destroy what someone else has built. And if you're trying to awaken the ideas of liberty, and you're like, okay, well, I see where you're saying that charity over welfare, and then I also see, like, when you're talking about taxes, like, I could do a lot more with my time and my taxes, and then from there, you build that camaraderie, and it's a trust thing as well. They trust you, and then you build that kind of communication and that kind of relationship with them, and it causes them to want to learn more. A few weeks ago, I was in Sedona before I moved out here, and I met someone that was asking me about, he's like, oh, you're an anarchist, that's so weird, and so, like, he wanted to, like, talk to me about it, and so I was like, sure, and he brought his friends, and we had a good discussion about anarchy and everything else, and after that, I spoke with him about, like, I mentioned the charity over welfare thing. That's usually what I start with, because people assume that you're a woman, that you should talk about, welfare for some reason, about having a million kids, but other than that, after that conversation, he wanted to learn more, and he asked me what kind of books he should read, or what kind of insight that anyone else had, and he added to my Facebook and started reading my posts, and I got a text message the other day that was like, I think I'm a moderate, and I think that's, because he used to say that he was from the left, and I was like, oh, I think I'm a moderate, and I was like, awesome, like, that's great, and, there's a lot of there's a lot of like consistency in seeing this progress. And since then, he's been communicating with me about. I told him to read Rothbard because I'm a huge Rothbardian, actually, Chuck. But and you know, he started reading that, and we talked. Kim and Tracy were talking to him about our Austrian economics, and he started reading about that and learning about it and asking me questions and just getting engaged and having someone. There's one thing between like meeting someone and saying, oh, I used to work for Dr. Paul, like, oh, I'm an anarchist, whatever, and seeing that, because when you say you're an anarchist, it immediately is that sting of, oh, what the hell, like, you believe in like destroying others and harming, and then you mention the nap, and then you go into charity over welfare, and that's really when it hits and you're on an even plane with someone. Do you see what I'm saying? Is that they feel like instead of being up here and I'm an anarchist, I work for dark, blah, 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 you're on like an even keel, and it's kind of, and I'm not to get girly on this, but like it's the most beautiful feeling when you're sitting across from someone and they get you. They don't understand you, but they get you, and that is the moment when you know that there is a good open line of communication. There's not me shouting or getting angry or having the face or them getting upset and walking away. It's this beautiful, like, transcendent conversation. And once you get to that point, you can start going into what I would deem as more of a severe aspect of the movement of saying, it gets to the point where you can joke around with them and say, well, taxation's theft. Well, and then talking about how the money system is right now, and being able to say, well, and they'll be like, well, the money, our economy's not shutting down. And you're like, yes, it is. Like, and then you can say, like, go into the different ideas of why that's happening and how we can learn from it. And so, in essence, you have to open a communication gateway with people, and the only way to do that is through being calm, collected, logical, and emotional, but not, it's a different kind of emotional than what we usually subscribe to. It's the emotional where we'll say, I understand how you feel, and I understand what you're thinking, and I understand why you would feel that way, and that's the main thing, is like, for instance, last night we were talking about the Libya situation, and Cassidy, the guy living out of his van, he was talking about how he thinks that is the one justified war that we're going into, and I could see how he could feel that way. I can definitely understand why he would feel that way, because Gaddafi is harming his own citizens, free citizens, and I know that we don't necessarily agree with the intervention in Libya, but I can understand why he would feel that way. And in understanding what he's saying and saying he's killing his own people, we should go in, that's justified. And Kim was like, well, that's an unconstitutional war, and he said, no, it's not. And I had to point out last night and say, no, it is unconstitutional, but that doesn't mean that it's humane. And when I brought up those differences, that's kind of when so it's causing this, you understand where he is emotionally, and it's best to be able to take where his emotional heart is right now, and what he's speaking through is obviously his heart, and being able to overlap it with a loving response that is also logical, so in return, I said, well, I understand, like, he is harming his own people, and that's totally understandable, and I could understand how you could think that was justified, but once the U.S. actually invades Libya, it's going to cause the U.S. to, like, they're going to suffer casualties by our hands, like, not ours, but, the U.S. government's hands, and that's not any better than Gaddafi killing his own people. And so it's, things like that. That's just my perspective. But I tried to, come back at it in a positive, like, a positive, loving way. And I think that is what we are lacking. And one way that we need to be working towards is, once that excitement of liberty hits, it's also the realization that there are other humans in existence that we're going to have to interact with. And, you have to recognize where you came from, because you were not born into the ideas of liberty. Rothbard was not, your mom didn't put headphones on her stomach and have Rothbard playing in that. We all are learning, and we all came from somewhere, and it's very pretentious to treat others in such a way as if we are higher than them, or mightier than them, or smarter than them. Because, to be honest, there are a lot of really smart people on both sides of whatever aisle you believe it is, and we need to learn from these people. They're not just learning from us. We're not just teaching them. They're also teaching us how to interact with others. And so, if anything, these are good tests for how we can engage others in a better way. And when I say positive, I also mean in a way that we can actually help to awaken people, to help people in their lives, and to also be an example for others when they look at liberty and they go on someone's Facebook, or they go on or they see something that someone has written and it's all negative towards a left or a right paradigm. That's not helping anyone. That's not helping us. It's not, and the beauty of our movement is, like Dennis was saying, that he used to be a Republican and he always hated liberals. Dude, when I was socialist and green, I hated Republicans. I don't like the word, I don't like the interaction, and it's taken me a long time to be able to change that perspective and to see that they're just words. They're just the two sides of the same coin. And it's time to move on. It's time for us to get on a higher vibration, and to recognize that we are human and we are liberty based, but that doesn't mean that we're better than anyone else. And to have that kind of humility, I think, is important to reflect things in a positive, loving way. And I'm trying to read some of these things. Yeah, so it's really about getting over the false paradigm in order to express yourself and to be able to bring people in. But also, the good thing about where you came from is that you can use that to your advantage. For instance, when I was talking about charity or welfare, I primarily use that when I'm speaking with people that came from my perspective. And no, the key is the true agorist anarchist market. I completely agree. We all believe in the free markets. It's more of the tact and the way that we express ourselves and how that we brand the movement. Because, to be honest, right now, the movement has a good brand, but, we all have very different perspectives on how to achieve liberty, and there are a lot of infighting, there are a lot of infighting. I don't even know how to speak English. There's a lot of infighting, and it's about who gets arrested, or who works for the state, or who believes in going through the political means versus the anarchists versus the agorists versus everything else. The beauty is, if you actually step outside of yourself and outside of this limited perspective that we have, we're all doing the same job. We're all doing things to achieve an end result, whether it be the minarchists with their limited government. Most minarchists would be okay with having an anarchist society. They just don't think it's possible, and so they cling to the minarchist perspective. There's nothing wrong with that. It is a slippery slope from becoming, when I was statist and then minarchist and then back to being where I am now. I had to learn, and the only way I learned was through people like Kim and Angela Keaton and Lola, and I'm learning every single day by these people on how to become a better activist. And the term activist is so loosely represented, but it seems like some of us in the movement tend to focus on what that word means as to mean some amount of aggression, or interacting with people on a physical basis. But there are a lot of people that are activists that are doing things behind the scenes, and they're doing it in such a way that they're doing the true loving, liberty, and I just adore them so much. There's so many people behind the scenes that don't want to get arrested, or they don't want to go out and do those kind of things, because they just want to support the movement, and they do it selflessly, and they do it in such a beautiful way that and they never get the credit, and I'm just worried that the movement has become such a celebrity-based idea, and I don't think that that's a positive way to express our ideas. You know, I think that to express our ideas in the best way is to keep a calm head and open heart, and you know, respect each other for what we do, and acknowledge that all sides are going and they're using their comparative advantage in different ways to achieve the same result. And we have to unite with that, because to be honest, like things like, you know, Jen Coffey passing the ninth bill in New Hampshire is a step ahead, and you know, what Pete and Adam do is a step ahead, and you know, people like Nina Bartlett and like just amazing people like Sean, Sean Dickerson or whatever, and using their comparative advantages just to spread the word is such an amazing. We have such amazing talent, and I don't want to see a negative perspective spun on it where someone is cooler, or someone is more of an activist, or someone achieves more than someone else, and just because of the limelight that they receive. And I think that we really need to not only be a positive and loving force outwardly, but also inwardly. You know, we need to have gratitude for the people that do good things, and we have to ensure that people are not burnt out, because what usually happens is that people give so much, they give so much of their time and so much of their love and just their passion into this movement, and then over time they get worn out, and they get bogged down because, you know, of whether it be of like some activists being negative or something happening or some drama or some stupid shit, and they go, and we've lost a few. I mean, they're still anarchists and they're still minarchists, whatever, but we've lost some of them, and I don't want to see that happen. And I've made it my point personally, as my form of activism, is to keep people engaged and reignite them, and to give them as much love and attention, and pretty much just give them gratitude for what they've done and support them in their endeavors. And I think that my form of activism and being the support system, or being a representative of the support system of the movement, is beneficial for me. It fills my heart. It is a strong point, and I'm good at what I do. And at the same time, I see others like, you know, Joseph Rosh and Amber Janelle and Zaida and all these people that are just giving so much positive force and educating people in such a toned, beneficial way that it motivates me. And so we're continually motivating one another to continue. And you know, there have been a lot of times where a lot of people, including myself, have been burnt out and considering just going off the grid and just going MIA. But there are loving people in the movement that understand the message that I'm trying to just convey. I'm just a representative of all these people that have been giving to the movement, and I think it's important to acknowledge them. I think it's important to keep them motivated and show them love. And I know I'm best known right now is with Lola, and we sent out, another thing is in the form of love, is that we sent out love care packages to the troops. And judges as you may, whatever, the troops, we can, it's amazing how we're individuals until it becomes us speaking about, police officers or military, and then all of a sudden it's them versus us, and it's the collectivist mentality. But they're individuals, and we don't know how they were, how they came to understand, go into the military or go into the police force. But it could have been, there's so many different reasons that people do it, and I'm not going to marginalize people just because of their occupation. And I don't, and being an anti-war activist, it's very difficult to understand the difference between those two things. But I think that, I forget what I was going to say. But, sorry. Okay, so I'm just looking at this question that was, how do we translate it to real-life integration relating and dealing with the whole governing economic systematics, or systemics of interactions. Personally, I believe in going around the state. I don't really interact with it. I don't really push back from it. I just go around it. And I found that it's easier to go around it when you're in a positive, very, very nice, positive manner. And actually, I am working on getting off the grid, and I've been able to achieve a lot of progress because of uh, just being nice and interacting with people and getting to know people. Because, to be honest, the best way to get around things is to make relationships with others and network through them in order to understand. Yeah, you have to understand people on a personal. Participation is the way to state. Yes, I completely agree. Okay, so here's my logical thought on the state. So the state has power, right? How is the power from the state derived? It's derived based on belief, right? We have to believe in the state in order for it to exist. Well, I just don't believe in it. How about that? How about if I just opt out? How about if I just not participate? And I just decide that, Kenneth Royce has an amazing book about getting off the grid, and I've been following some of his tactics about Boston Tea Party. But, if you don't give it power, it ceases to exist. And that could be said for a lot of different things. Even negative people, if you don't give them the power they believe they have over you, that, you choose your own power, and you choose how people interact and how you allow them to treat you. And so I don't want to be treated badly by the state anymore. I want to live in harmony, and I want to be happy, and I want to take care of the people that help give that back to me, and I can give back to them. And I'm going to support local businesses. I'm going to support the liberty movement. I'm going to financially, physically, emotionally do what I need to do in order to help see it survive. And the best way to do that is by being loving and giving, and not being coercive or negative or argumentative. I mean, argumentative, and you can be argumentative in certain aspects, but do it in a very positive, based way. And yeah, just have the right focus on the positive ends instead of just being angry and heckling people and things like that. So I think I only have like 4 minutes left, but I just wanted to reiterate. I hope that you have gotten something from this. This is kind of a rant that I've had in my head that I just kind of regurgitating out to you guys. But I would just have to say that we have to look at other people not as left-right paradigms, and not as us versus you. It's us versus ourselves to an extent. And once we actually get in that kind of understanding. Oh, okay, I can go to 55. All right, thanks, George. Once we actually kind of humble ourselves to the idea that, I think true wisdom comes from not knowing. What is it? To be truly wise is to not know anything at all. It's from Socrates, written by Plato, of course, which I love. But you really have to be under the assumption that we know that liberty's right, correct? We understand the ideas of liberty, and we believe it's right. But we also have to be open to new ideas, and we always have to be. Bless you. We always have to be, perfecting ourselves. And that means that we have to tear down some ideas that we might be clinging to for unknown reasons. Yeah, no, I completely agree, Kelly. People need to feel empowerment to create new systems. Oh, what I was trying to say earlier is that Lola sent care packages over to the troops, and we've actually already gotten a few emails and letters back from the troops saying that they really love having these books and the RAND books, and it makes them want, and we've sent them to family members of liberty-based people, and oh yeah, I'm under a tree right now, but the liberty-based people is that they're reading the Ayn Rand book, and they're reading all the stuff that other organizations have given to us, and they're spreading it. It's starting to spread. We can't just segregate people into groups. We have to actually be able to interact with people on a personal basis. And if we have to go and send a care package to every single person in the military, then by damn we will do it, because that's what's right. And we're not sending them paperwork about how they're killers and murderers and all this kind of shit. Like, we're sending them things that are saying, our friend Daniel Lockmacher was in Guantanamo, got a care package from and in it was the Ayn Rand book. He read it. He became a conscientious objector, and he is a vital asset to this movement. He runs warisamoral.com. He has been speaking at Students for Liberty conferences. An amazing person that tells his story in such a positive way. And he doesn't say, you're murderers. Instead, he says, look, this is where I was. This is where I am now. This is my story. And we are getting such good response from the troops, and they're awakening to these ideas because we're telling them that we care about them as individuals. And I mean, I can't express enough like how much. And I don't want to just rant. I want to actually have factual evidence, being the scientist that I am, that I want to have factual evidence to say, look, the old way was not working. Let's change it. Let's fix the way that we're doing things, and let's be a positive force. Nobody wants to hang out with the negative kid. Nobody wants to hang out with your negative friend that always talks shit and is always upset, right? I want to have a good time. I mean, if everything's going to go down, I'm going to have a good time. You know? I mean, that's what this is about. Life is about having fun. It's about being conviction-based. It's about having passion. And we have to be representative of that. We have to want people to learn. We have to want people to, like, have an affinity and an attraction to us. And the only way we're going to do that is by humbling ourselves and saying, I believe this is right, and I'm going to talk to people on a even keel, and I'm going to be personable, and I'm going to be loving. And you know what? By damn, I'm going to win them over through love. Not through fear, not through anger, not through this bullshit that the left-right paradigm is doing to us. I'm going to do it because I actually give a damn about these people. You know, it's not just us caring about the ideas of liberty. I can read a book all day long, but it's actually going to take someone that I care about talking to me to change my mind. And I think that's vital to what we need to do. And you know, I just really wish that we could just unite under, you know, whatever banner you deem, if it's like the, you know, the black and gold flag, or, you know, the U.S. flag, whatever the hell it is. We have to be able to unite as individuals to get shit done. And I want to get shit done, and I know the other positive forces in my life want to do it. So what's keeping us? What's keeping us from doing it? Is it our pride? Is it the fact that we think that we're so right that we can't understand our own perspectives? Is it that we're not willing to let anybody in? I don't know what anyone's deal is or their damage is, but like, let's just get shit done, man. Like, let's do it in a positive way where other people will be attracted to the ideas of liberty. I hate to say it, but in the real world, you have to attract people to the ideas of liberty. You know, I mean, it has to be attractive. It makes you want to learn. It makes you want to have an open conversation. Allison, could someone convince you to embrace statism? No, I mean, it's not about just like, oh, somebody's really nice to me. Like, I have no self-esteem. Oh, I'm gonna just jump on them and agree with everything they have to say. No, but it's about selling it. It's about being genuine in how you sell it. And nobody could have convinced me to embrace statism, to be honest, Dan, because I came from statism, and so I've already been there. I already know what statism is like. I'm done. Okay? I understand that liberty is the way to go, and I do see it as a positive way to spread freedom. And for me personally, I love, you know, I love the ideas of liberty because I'm able to travel and I'm able to experience like this amazing, you know, this amazing like country and this world, and it's beautiful, you know. And well, I mean, some people can be nice and be statist, but it's really about, you're right, Michael, it's all about empathy, and it's all about reaching out to someone that is that, if that someone were truly nice, they wouldn't ask you to support statism. Yes, and I mean, I would argue that we shouldn't necessarily like force people to support liberty either, but just kind of be a gateway for someone. And honestly, I have some weird natural talent to be able to, you know, bring people over to liberty from the left and some of the right. And what I've learned is that it's not even about like preaching the ideas of liberty. It's about making a personal relationship with those people. You know, and you're right, Rich, like if you're not excited about liberty, why the hell would anybody else? Yeah, I completely agree, Brian. And so I believe like just being a good person and just being yourself and being your natural self makes people respect you, and it makes them more open to listening to you. And it's about having a relationship, because if you just meet someone and they start yelling at you about arguing with you, you're not going to be open to that idea. But if you build a relationship with them and you trust them and you feel like it's a safe place to communicate with them, then you're more likely to listen to someone. you know? If someone's beating you all the time, you're not going to want to necessarily agree or talk to them or be around them. Or if they're infighting or drama or just stupid shit, then they're not going to want to be attracted to you, you know? But if you do have that voice and you understand yourself and you are able to talk to others, you know, you have to be the change. Yeah, exactly, Joseph. Like, you have to be the change that you wish to see. Thank you, Gandhi. And so, I only have 6 minutes left, so I'll just do my ending rant and then leave. Sorry, I'm talking to Ken's over here, but yeah, I know, I completely agree with Joseph. People naturally follow positive people who are having fun. It's all about living liberty. I think that's one thing that we don't see all the time, is that you don't only have to talk about liberty, you have to live it. You have to live the essence of liberty. You have to, and we can't just stick in this box of liberty where, oh, I'm cooler than you, or, you know, whatever's going on is more important than anything else in the world. I like music. I write. I love art. I love mountain climbing. I'm so excited. I'm going climbing today. I'm so excited about it. I have things that are outside of liberty. Like, liberty consumes what I deem as right, but yet I can still enjoy this world. I can still go and be able to be myself and have fun and meet people from different areas and different ideas and different hobbies, because I have that passion for life. Because liberty has given me liberty has given me an ability to have more passion and say, oh, I want to learn about gardening because I want to live on my own and sustain myself. Or, you know, I have friends in New Orleans that have like rabbits and all that kind of stuff, and I'm learning from them, and it's exciting, and it's something new to learn, and it's just the most amazing. Like, life is just so amazing, and I just wish that we could get out from behind our computers and go out and meet people and get on their level and just like communicate and talk to people. And the only way liberty is going to spread like wildfire is one person at a time, and it's through one relationship at a time. Because if you ruin one person's perspective on liberty, that's going to spread. You know, like if let's say Dr. Paul is in a debate and somebody doesn't like liberty, they're going to just tell all their friends and say, oh, well, I met this one guy who's an anarchist and crazy, and, you know, taxation theft, and they should shut off. And then how many ripple effects does that take to destroy what? You can destroy like 100 people from liberty. But if you have a personal connection to one person, and let's say they get on, like, let's say they join my Facebook and everybody's being positive, it's going to ripple out in a positive way. So my rant today was pretty much just trying to state that, like, this is all about us, and it's all about who we are and how we represent ourselves. And you can't represent fake positive natures. Like, you have to just exude it and be excited about liberty, but be excited to want to bring others in and to want to educate others and to want to help society and help our communities, local and national, or, you know, national, whatever, but, you know, all over the world. And it's not about just us. If it's just you and me, we're going to get really, really bored. So let's just spread it. And so I asked that maybe today, like, we each one of us kind of take inside of ourselves and maybe try to talk to somebody and just get to know them and try to understand their perspective and maybe word things a little bit differently than we would have in the past. But Sunday, me and Stephanie are going to be doing a communication talk on this, and I hope that maybe we can flesh out some ideas on more of a, you know, day-by-day communication basis of things that we can do. But I really appreciate you guys listening, and yeah, and I appreciate all the work that you've done, and I only can hope that we all stay in communication. And George, this is an amazing conference, and I wish I could help you more. I'm really sorry, but great idea, and very lucky to have you guys and be a part of this movement. Thanks, guys.